have to ask you the question that your students must ask you after you've made them read all those privacy policies. What do we do with this information that we've just obtained? We learn that they are sweeping up all this stuff, and we're supposedly agreeing to let them sweep it all up. What can we do? Can we not click and refuse to accept it and then plan to negotiate with them on a better privacy policy?
Thank you. This is a much more difficult question crowd than I normally get. That is a very hard question. I think individuals don't have very much power at all to push back against privacy, because what we used to hear is, well, just don't use that. But now, in order to participate in social life and economic life and political life, we need to use platforms. Many of them have the same types of privacy issues. What's the limit? What's the limit of the data that can be collected? I think we're almost at the point where we don't have the option of reasonable anonymity online, but we're not there yet. In parts of the world, there are real name identification requirements to use a cyber cafe. Countries are talking about having a real name identification, like use your ID to get online. Right? We can stop those types of things and provide for the possibility of anonymity. But I feel like the best that we can do is to have traceable anonymity, where data is gathered about us, and law enforcement can request it with a judicial order, with some kind of due process, and having a system where there are constraints and checks and balances. I think that's the best that we can do at this point. Why is all that data gathered about us, by the way? The reason all that data is gathered about us is because of the Faustian bargain that we've made. We use everything for free. I use free email, I use free search, I use free social media, I use free information aggregation devices. But it's not that money is not changing hands. There's an enormous amount of money changing hands. It's online advertising. So because of that system of online advertising that is the business model that provides all this great access to knowledge, that's why the information is gathered. That's why governments can come in and request that information. I think part of the solution is in some of these efforts that are being undertaken in the private sector in cooperation with civil society to say, well, what does corporate social responsibility mean? And what kind of user choice can there be? Very complicated area. I think that I should have some right to turn off some of the tracking. That's my personal opinion, and I know a lot of people agree with me. But on the other hand, I do realize that the business models depend upon a certain amount of data gathering. But when it starts to get into tracking our location, it's the creepiness factor goes up I just call it the creepiness factor, right? So there have to be some limits and some choice.